What it do? What it do? Are we live? Stay. Don't publish. Are we live? Live, 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 live. Still figuring this out. It's funny, you do this like 10 times. It's not enough. We're offline. It should be good. Aha. All right, we got 7 people in here right now. 5 people. Oh, look, Dritz is in the chat. What up, Jacob? What a cutie. Appreciate it. 12 people. Are we just gonna? I'm just gonna keep counting. Got the Greek god in here. Our numbers are slowly growing one at a time. We're at 13. You see, this is why you shouldn't stream randomly, right? So that people actually know that you're streaming. But all right, I should. I'm actually listening to myself while I'm saying this. It's not going so well. All right, guys. Yeah, we're just doing a stream for 873 and just stream in general. Also, oh, I should have put that in the title for the 20th anniversary of One Piece, which was technically yesterday. 873 20th anniversary. Oh yeah. Wait, no, I need to put it all in caps. We need the clickbait. Anniversary, all caps. Oh. I hope I didn't spell that wrong. I have a feeling I spelled that wrong. Whoops. Well, we're going for it. You guys can call me out later. The baby, yeah, I actually shaved. It's a sad life. Still got that stubble though, guys. I'm a grown man, all right? Live action. Yeah, what up, everyone? Oh, to hear the news, Hollywood doing a live action One Piece TV series. That sounds fucking awful, guys. I don't know why you'd get hyped over that. That can't end well. I mean, I'm hopeful. There's a part inside of me that wishes for the best, but there's also a part inside of me that knows it's not going to be good. But look at me being a Debbie Downer here. 20th anniversary of the manga, or it's the 20th anniversary of the manga. The anime is irrelevant. Mod. Let's see if I can do that. Look, learning buttons. Boom. Just don't delete the bots, all right, Zypher? Yeah, I'm not modding anybody that I don't know. Zypher got lucky. The life fruit. Yo, what up, Renoa-chan? Renoa. Do you guys want me to talk like this? Actually, I'm not sure if that came out right. There's like energy levels. The energy level matters, right? So like when I really get into it, you'll hear me sound like myself, but otherwise I'm kind of like a chill talker. How old am I? I'm 24. Yo, what up, Savvy? We're just waiting for more people to get in here before we start this. Actually, let me go ahead and send you the link, Dritz, so that I don't forget. But yeah, I kind of just want to bring Dritz in here. If you guys aren't subscribed to Dritz, do that. There's a link to Dritz's channel in the description. He's essentially like, there's very few people in the community that I constantly agree with. Dritz is one of those people, and I shout out his channel at every possible moment. And some of you fuckers still don't subscribe to him. I don't understand. Like I'm trying to help you. I'm helping you. Talk about cherries. What does cherries matter? No, we're at 75 now, not 63. Hey,
Yo, what's up, boy?
We got Dritz in here. Can everyone hear Dritz? Is it just me?
Can you hear me?
Can you feel the Dritz in here?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Like 10 reviews ago, I made a really poorly edited part of that song, and it just made me remember it. It's awful.
Don't spoil you. I can't help it. Oh yeah, you guys can hear him. Sweet.
Excellent.
Deal. All right, so we actually have no plan for this stream whatsoever, so we need you guys in the chat to carry us and ask like questions and shit. Can you do that for me? Pretty please.
Yeah, we're not organized. Ask us questions.
And by we're, Dritz means I'm not organized, and by extension now he's not organized.
That's right. Off the top of that dome, freestyling.
You just fucking go for it. I'm like, I feel like streaming. Do you have any plans? Do you have any plans, Joy? No, I don't really have any plans whatsoever. How old are you? I answered that like 30 seconds ago. Come on now. Cover story. You want us to talk about the cover story with the Shanks hype, Shanks and Bartolomeo? I'm not sure if there's much to be said. You haven't done your review yet, Dritz. Do you have anything to add on Shanks hype?
What the fuck was that? Okay, something just like fell down behind me. I don't know what it was. I thought it was someone trying to get me. But I don't know. I don't know if the story's going to go anywhere because there are multiple possibilities. On one end, you could see them meeting up with Shanks, but on the other side, it's just like one of those strange coincidences. Because the last time we saw Shanks, he was like in a cover story at a wedding, which is like in a different environment. That's in the desert. So
in the desert.
I'm not sure.
You can't. Okay, wait. We're just stop before we begin. Yeah, I mean, I'd like for it to go somewhere, but at the end of the day, you just can't be certain. There's so many different. Like it's hard differentiating what is important and what isn't, specifically when it comes to the cover stories, which are random. But there's a little part of me that hopes that at the very least we get a Shanks cameo in the cover story, but we'll see.
That would be the ultimate fan pleaser.
Yeah. Isaac R asks, who are some of your favorite anime-related YouTubers? Do you watch any YouTubers, Dritz? Aside from me, obviously.
Basically, just Sawyer and Roger. I'm subscribed to For Never World, but I almost never watch his videos.
Actually, I actually don't mind For Never World. It's like each YouTuber has something different that they adds to the table. I try and watch as many people as I can just to see what it is that they're doing to potentially, if I wanted to add on to my stuff. So like with For Never World does a very good job of, I guess, without being overly analytical. He can cover a chapter and sort of give it hype moments. Roger is really, really successful at like bringing the hype to each One Piece chapter and just being like a really personable person. Sawyer's like the way that I'm always impressed with Sawyer because in a couple of hours, he can find a lot of the things that would take me a lot longer to notice, like similarities between the chapters. For instance, when Luffy went to go attack Big Mom, a couple chapters ago, he's one of those people that pick up right away. Well, this is like exactly what happened with Luffy or with Ace and Akainu back pre-time skip. And it's not something that I noticed right away. But I don't watch as many theorists as I used to because they all died. Who did the Dritz? Did you watch the why you should watch One Piece?
Oh yeah, I did.
Super Eye Patch Wolf. Yeah, I watched Super Eye Patch Wolf. He's pretty good as well. But yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Talk about the King. I watched King of Lightning as well.
Oh yeah,
King of Lightning is by far the funniest One Piece YouTuber, no doubt. My boy Joe. Huh?
He's very good at editing.
Dude, I don't have the patience for that personally. Like there's a little part of me that hopes, but there's a reason why his videos come out like a day after or sometimes weeks after everyone else's.
I wonder how big his like meme folder is because he always has these memes edited into it. He must have an absolutely massive organized folder of just like what scenario to put in, you know, gangster music or.
Yeah, so someone else brought up Tekking 101. I watched a little bit of Tekking, but Tekking's videos are super, super long. So it's like there's not quite enough time in the day to watch. Like Tekking 101 is the kind of person that I would put on and then play video games if I was going to watch Tekking.
I'm subscribed to Tekking, but I rarely watch his videos. It depends on the topic. I don't usually go to him for reviews, but if it's like some topic that most people don't cover, I might watch it.
I always get a bunch
in general, I think Tekking's like a summary kind of guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Me and Drizzt, though, we're the king of speculation. We're
That's
very
right.
good at speculation.
One speculation a week for me.
No, wait, sorry. Clarification. I am the GOAT of YouTube. Okay, I'll accept. I can agree with that. Yeah, the 35-minute video is crazy. I actually recorded it initially. It was 43 minutes, and I was like, okay, I got to chop some parts out of it. And then I got down to 35 minutes. I was like, I can't really chop this anymore without deleting the entire video. So then I just rolled with it. And then I was like, well, if I came this far and I'm going to make a 35-minute video, I might as well find all the panels for that. And that took a fucking long time. But here we are.
I watched that video 3 times.
3 times? How? I don't know. I don't know how you guys can actually like watch all the way.
Well, it's like a 25-minute drive from work. So I just like put it on when I'm driving.
So anyway, one thing I did want to talk about, though, is at the very end of that video, I reiterated a speculation that some other people have been talking about recently, which is the possibility that the Marines might show up at the end of the arc because Stussy, being a member of CP0, could communicate with them, basically tell them that this would be the time to strike Big Mom. They would, I mean, if she doesn't have the ability to call for a buster call, maybe somebody else will. And that could be the conclusion of this arc, because a lot of people seem dissatisfied with the idea that this arc is sort of finished with some sort of resolution between the Big Mom Pirates and Luffy. And then, Sanji makes the cake. They seem really unsatisfied with that. But like, I saw in your video that you're not really down for that. So what are your thoughts really about that?
Well, I definitely think it's a possibility, but I'm not a fan of it, since obviously this idea came from the 420 cover story or color spread for Buster Call. And I remember you commented on my video, and we talked about it for a little bit.
Yeah, boy.
And one of the things is that, people associate the title with what's going to happen in future, but in the most popular color spread ever, in chapter 520, where it showed Ace's death, the title of that chapter was Gorgon's Eye, and that literally had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, so I'm not basing the speculation off of the title itself. Like I'm not saying in all instances where there's possible foreshadowing, the title matters. But what's really curious to me about the page in 420 is obviously, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, just, get on your computer, search up chapter 420 of One Piece and look at the cover story. But, everything in that image gives me the impression that it's in some way foreshadowing the events here. And I think you agree with that, just the contents of the page itself, not the title. You have Sanji, who is the focus point, making a cake, it appears, which, as of the speculations right now, seems pretty on point. The cake has a high resemblance to the castle in Big Mom's castle. Also looks like it got exploded in literally the same place. And then you even have like a jail in the background with animals in it, which could in some way parallel Big Mom's creature books, where she keeps all sorts of amazing creatures. Also potentially could tie into speculations that because the castle is now destroyed, these creatures might find a way out, or if they're not out already, they could get out in the future. Anyway, all of this stuff seems really relevant. But I wouldn't say that the title has to be significant in this case. I just think that right now, CP0, Stussy, I feel like has to play some kind of role. And when you see what's unfolding here in Totland, the Big Mom Pirates have just admitted that they're fucked. It's like, if you're the world government and you have any plans of taking down Big Mom, Now, it's a debatable point, but if you do have any plans like that, it would seem like the moment to do that. Would seem like a good opportunity to call for a Buster Call. And it just so happens that the title of that chapter 420 is Buster Call. So it's too coincidental for me. It's like, you know, I'm not saying that the title always has to matter, but in this case, it's so close to what my expectations would be for what would happen that you got to think to yourself, maybe there's something to this. That's the way I look at it anyway. Hold on just one second. We got a donation from Straw Hat Theories. What do you think about Nami getting the paw fruit if Kuma dies? She keeps being called cat burglar and would be a massive power-up. Dritz, you want to take this one?
I mean, certainly with like all speculations, there's definitely a possibility, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
Cat burglar, you know, it's like everyone's epitaphs aren't exactly correlated to them getting a devil fruit.
Yeah. My whole thing about the Straw Hats getting devil fruits is that Oda has spent 800 chapters for some of them, like someone like Nami, pretty close to 800 chapters, or at least 600, developing their fighting styles. And so Nami obviously has the climate attack, and to give her an overpowered devil fruit such as a paw fruit would automatically trump her climate attack. There's no situation that I can envision, or very few situations that I can envision, where it would be useful to use the climate attack over the paw fruit, specifically in regards to combat. So I just don't see Oda retconning all the work that he's done towards developing Nami's fighting style, to be honest with you. I feel like that would be bad writing, but that's just my opinion. But it's a good question, though. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about before, do you have anything else to add about the potential that the Marine...
Well, actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So what would be your overall like end goal for using the Buster Call? What scenario do you think that would be useful in?
So the purpose of it, in my head right now, obviously we still got a lot of time left to go, is that it's kind of an anticlimactic end. If as much as I don't want to say so, as much as it's perfect that Sanji would save the day via cooking, pudding could potentially manipulate memories, everything could be kosher. As an end to the arc, it's not very exciting, and so I feel like that could play part of the role in introducing an actual conflict at the end. Another thing that I think would add to the general intensity of the end of this arc is if they knew that the Marines were coming while Sanji was still baking the cake. And that would only increase the drama around getting it done quicker. So again, in my headcanon, and everyone says Bobbin's dead. I get it, but I'm not going to believe it until it happens. Bobbin can potentially put Big Mom to sleep. And if he can put Big Mom to sleep once, he can put Big Mom to sleep multiple times. This is actually exactly what we saw from the kids in Punk Hazard with Usopp. I think Usopp put him to sleep, and then they would wake up, and then they would put him to sleep again. And each time that happened, they would wake up a little bit more quickly, if I remember correctly. But don't look at that chapter, please, because I might not remember correctly. So theoretically, then, if Bobbin could put Big Mom to sleep for a very long time. But then if you add in the extra drama of, hey, well, if we don't get this done, we got, Buster Call heading towards us at the end of the day. I don't know. I just feel like it would make it more exciting. And there was more
then
things.
What happens to the Big Mom pirates then? Like, what's the conclusion between their interaction with the Buster Call?
Oh, see, well, what I'm envisioning is that Big Mom is so overpowered that if they can actually wake her up in time, she would save the day. She would save everyone. It would be the Marines would get wrecked, is how I'm imagining it in my mind. So you're like building up all this drama towards the end of the arc of getting it done, and then it finally happens, and then you get to showcase the full power of the Yonko at the very end of the arc. And that would be the hype moment, sort of. Get people excited.
I mean, I can see it happening, but I'm still going to have my doubts until it happens. Right. That's the way I am.
Stuck in your ways, Dritz, man. You got to break
out.
I
know, I can see that happening. Is like as the crew is leaving, they see in the background just the giant war zone between Big Mom attacking all of the battleships and the vice admirals. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be pretty dope. I agree. Totally agree. Pudding versus Nami incoming. I don't know, man. I personally think that Pudding is you know, it's so hard to argue for the future of this arc because, you know, as much as I want to argue that I believe a certain thing, you know, there's like percentages that come with like each, you know, there's like a possibility of this and possibility of this, and it just sort of like I'm like following the rabbit hole based on like high percentages compared to other things in my mind to get to what I think is going to be the future. But at this moment in time, I feel pretty strongly that number one, Pudding is going to have a change of heart. And number two, the Vinsmokes are going to capture her, and then Sanji's going to save her. And so in that case, you know, we wouldn't see Pudding versus Nami. But I mean, maybe. She seemed jealous as of chapter, I forgot what number it was, 870.
69. Ha,
69.
Get corrected, idiot.
I just got one up, guys. Why did I invite you into the stream? This is a bad idea.
That's right, I'm taking over.
Pudding is Jekyll and Hyde. Hey, yo, so what do you think about that, Dritz? A lot of people are saying, so do you think that Pudding is in denial, confused, or do you think she's actually like split personality?
Well, either way, I think you can make valid arguments because however you take the interaction between this chapter, I think it only does good for Pudding's character. On the one hand, if she is just acting in front of the Big Mom pirates, then that gives her a motive to do something else relevant to the plot. And if she's not, if she really is slighted by Sanji, then you would expect another encounter between her and Sanji to kind of resolve that relationship. So either way, the result I think would be good for the cake theory and just for them as characters. Because one thing I feel like is that every time Pudding shows one side of her face, I feel like Oda is actually luring in every single person to be like, aha, she changed again, instead of questioning, you know, the reason behind that.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people read it at face value too often, where it's just like, okay, well, what's happening now is the truth. And then like 3 chapters comes along and something changes and like, oh, no, no, this is 100% the truth. But my rationale for Pudding is, yeah, I'm actually planning on doing a video talking about this scene in particular, but I'm going to cover it in a different way. But in chapter 845, we can see an interaction between Pudding and Sanji. It's the scene where Luffy is fighting the enraged army, and then we get those beautiful like cut scenes to Pudding and Sanji sort of having their moment. But basically, Sanji starts talking about his situation and how, you know, he like rips off his mask and shows what the Vinsmoke did to his face, and he's like, you know, this is how my family really feels about me. And he says that, and you like afterwards, like looking in hindsight, you're just like, well, that is exactly what how Pudding felt like she was perceived by her own family, that she was hated by her family if she, you know, showed her third eye, that she's a monster. This is what my family really thinks of me, so she actually has to hide it. And so it makes me wonder if Pudding in that particular scene was actually moved to like sympathize with Sanji's situation. What happens after that only adds fuel to the fire. We're going to skip part of it because, again, I'm going to talk about this in a video soon because a different topic. But you get Pudding has a ... shortly after then, like a thinking moment. I always look for the ... just to see where they are and what possible relevance they could have. And then Pudding starts crying and basically saying, you know, this won't be that kind of hell for you, Sanji. And when we're initially reading the chapter, especially after she was revealed to be evil, you think, okay, well, she's just lying. But given this previous line and some other lines, which I think would agree with Pudding's situation, it really makes you wonder if at this moment was Sanji starting to capture her heart. And then what she does after that is even more intriguing, because they have this like heart-to-heart moment. They're like looking into each other's eyes. It's all like beautiful and romantic. And then she's like, wait a second. I have to kill you. She didn't say that, but she's like, wait, well, you know, you don't even know me, and we haven't even talked about marriage. That whole situation leads me to believe that was sort of like the first moment that Pudding sort of started to doubt what she was supposed to do to Sanji. And so after that point in time, she was contemplating on the balcony. And I think this matches up well with that scene. Like, you know, I'm supposed to kill this person, but I'm kind of confused now. So let me go think about it and think about my whole situation in general. And then afterwards, she comes across as even like this is where she sort of turned on the Straw Hats. And she went to the Straw Hats prison cell and was like, yeah, I'm going to kill everyone. And then she captured Reiju and did the same thing. And I feel like it's almost an overcompensation for basically she needed to want to kill Sanji because that was what she was supposed to do as a member of the Big Mom Pirates. And I think at this moment, because of her confusion, she convinced herself that if she needed to go all the way, and that, you know, Sanji, even, you know, despite whatever he said or, you know, whatever might happen, once she showed her third eye, then she would hate him. And then so we go to the recent chapters, and she shows her third eye, and I thought that was really poignant as well, right? So like she goes to shoot him. All she needed to do was shoot the dude. That was it. You don't need to reveal your third eye and make a big scene about it. But what she does, she shows the third eye first. It's like, look into my third eye. What do you think? And she couldn't shoot him. And so going into this chapter, I just cannot buy that it's either she's still confused because of her role in the Big Mom Pirates, she's lying to the Big Mom Pirates, or she's mad because Sanji has the hots for Nami and she knows it. But as for like the multiple personality, I just went on forever, didn't I? But anyway, for the multiple personalities theory, I think that it's possible, but I think that it can be explained more linearly. Anyway, I don't think it's necessary to explain her character. So I would go for the more simple explanation, but that's just my opinion 10 minutes later.
Simple is usually right when it comes to One Piece.
Ja. So we got a bunch of shit comments. I mean, great comments. We got a bunch
really
of great
shitty comments.
Shit post. I was thinking shit post in my mind, but and then everyone leaves. Fuck this dude. What? Zoro will fight Big Mom.
What's the reasoning behind that?
You know, something an interesting comment that I saw though was that Big Mom's fighting style. This is completely against my beliefs, by the way, guys. But Big Mom carries a sword, right, with her hat. She has the powers of fire with Prometheus and electricity with Zeus. And so electricity, Luffy counters electricity. Sanji has Diable Jambe, which is fire. So, you know, fire gets fire. And then Zoro uses a sword. So you could argue that the monster trio will take on Big Mom based on that. I don't believe it, but something interesting.
I feel like people look for a lot of those correlations, just how like Niji and Ichiji were supposed to take on Prometheus and Zeus, but that never happened.
Yeah. Caesar for Nakama. Dritz, do you want to go on a rant?
No! No! I am usually I try to stay unbiased, but no, I do not like that. He has a place in Wano. That much I'll agree to, but I just don't think he is Straw Hat material, at least yet, unless we learn more about him in the future. But that's how I feel about that.
I need more. We need a full blown rant here, Dritz. All the way. Go big or go home.
Oh. Yeah, so like reasons I don't really understand why people want Caesar to be in the crew so much. I don't know. I feel like people like, well, he can be the scientist of the crew, but you're kind of like where Chopper and Frankie kind of combine, do that sort of thing together.
But they're not mad scientists.
No, they're not mad scientists.
They cannot.
I feel like unless there's an arc in the future specifically just for Caesar joining the crew, then I'm not really confident in it, because every other arc, I think I just voice cracked a little bit. Every other arc that we've had someone join the crew, there's been like really key moments around that character, and Caesar has been nothing but memes. So if he joins the Straw Hats, it'll be off of memeing instead of like importance to the crew itself and his interactions with the crew.
So what I'm taking here, guys, is that our boy Dritz, he doesn't appreciate the memes like he should. I don't think
my
this
Danko meter is broken.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm planning on making all the, like, Nakama videos, but I think I'm just not going to talk about Caesar in any video whatsoever because of the rage that spawns around it. But I'm far more unbiased than you are, just from the standpoint of, based on what Caesar has already done. A lot of people say, well, this dude experimented on children. Like, the fuck, what? And keep in mind, guys, I don't think that Caesar is going to join. I don't think he's going to be part of the crew. But I think there are arguments for it. So, like, first of all, you have to ask the question, even now, where is Caesar gonna go? And so everyone keeps speculating different places that he could possibly go. And it just seems like in every possible instance, he's not going there. Like, oh, he's going to join Capone. No, probably not, at least. Oh, the arc's not over, so I guess I can't say anything definitively. But, you know, oh, he's going to get arrested in Dressrosa and, you know, like all sorts of shit. He's going to stay with the Big Mom Pirates. You know, none of that's happened. And we know that Caesar is a good counter for his own weapons that the Kaido's crew uses in Wano. So in my mind, right, if Jack or whoever pulls out Caesar's weapons in Wano, the Straw Hats are literally fucked without Caesar. So then that automatically necessitates, at this point in time, based on what we know, Caesar's presence in Wano gives us even more time with Caesar. That would be literally the vast majority of the time in the New World. And then when you're talking about like the criteria for the Straw Hats to join, like you have to have a dream. And Caesar has a dream. He wants to be the greatest scientist. And although Dritz would say that Frankie and Chopper are kind of that role, they're also not. Even if they're partly, it's like similar, they're not. Chopper is a doctor. Caesar is most certainly not a doctor. And Frankie is a shipwright who also creates gizmos that are intended to be like ship-like, even like General Frankie, right, is like at least it's a land ship. That's what we're gonna call it. It's a land ship. But with Caesar, you know, what is the usefulness for a scientist on a pirate crew? Fuck if I know. But by having a dream already, it's interesting to speculate.
Well, for me, I think Caesar's important whenever we eventually transition into meeting Vegapunk, which Oda did promise and quote unquote soon. So I think will be important then because we're learning more now about the renegade scientists. So I feel like that's when Caesar's role will come into full play.
Hold on just 1 second. Sorry, Buggy, we're not reading that one, but thanks for the donation, bro.
Buggy's a troll.
Yeah, the Keemstar memes, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hate around Caesar, but at the end of the day, I think the most persuasive evidence for me that he won't join is that all the Straw Hats previously were like straight up good people. Like even people who had done shitty things. Frankie's done some shitty things. Nami's done some shitty things. Robin's done some probably extra shitty things. But at the end of the day, they were forced in those circumstances. Whereas Caesar is legit just cruel and loves, you know, like making weapons that will end people.
Yeah, there has to be a redeeming quality in this character that isn't just him helping out the crew with his abilities, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, as comic relief part of the crew, I'm totally down for it. I like Caesar's character, not necessarily as like a Straw Hat, but like as a character in the story that's present that does shit sometimes. But yeah, for Straw Hat, probably not. Why am I triggered? I don't know, dude. Nami hates his guy. Yeah, and that's another one. I mean, Zoro hated Robin at one point in time, or was highly suspicious. So I'm not sure. Vivi theories. You have any Vivi theories, Dritz?
I mean, like just concerning her role at Reverie, or is that past that?
I mean, I made it as vague as possible, so you have the freedom of choice, my man.
I don't know. I don't really think I have any new ideas to contribute because I think a lot of people have like the same reused ideas concerning Reverie and people defending the Straw Hats, and you know maybe Dragon shows up, which I think if I give it a lot of thought, I would have a different idea. But at the present time, it's like, maybe.
Yeah, I actually feel really, really strongly that Vivi and Alabasta is going to get fucked at the Reverie. Like not literally, but like figuratively. Like it's going to be a bad situation for them because I was actually reading the Alabasta arc recently. Where at the end, you know, the Straw Hats and Vivi, we're not sure if Vivi's going to join or not, but they're like, okay, well, you know, she's saying goodbye. You know, I can't join with you. I love my country too much. And Luffy tries to yell at her, you know, be like, you know, we'll adventure sometime soon or something like that. And Vivi or Nami or someone else basically told him to shut up, that they can't say anything because the Marines are watching, that if they found out the connection between Vivi and the Straw Hat crews, then she would get in danger. And then you have like Cobra saying like ominous things in between the Zoe and Whole Cake Island arc about asking questions, which kind of, I think he said it really vague, but it gave me the impression that he's going to ask about like the Void Century and why they destroyed the history. That's sort of the impression that I got. All of this leads to a situation where you got to wonder if this is the Reverie, if they're going to say too much and the world government's going to deem them a threat. And that could be the situation which requires Luffy to act and reintroduce Vivi in the story.
I believe you actually made a video about this, didn't you?
Yep.
I think.
What haven't I made a video on it? That is the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be that's going to be part of it. But I also think that since I recently made like a Celestial Dragon type of video, that a lot of what's going to be explained is, you know, why the Nefeltari family chose to opt out of being Celestial Dragons as well.
Yeah, this was, yeah. I think it's a really old theory. You know, I never actually found the original theory because I always thought that Beck made this theory that Alabasta was a member of the Ancient Kingdom secretly, or flipped sides at some point in time. But then I think I recall talking to Beck and he like speculated something slightly different. But anyway, long story short, I personally strongly believe that Alabasta, like it's got to be an important detail that of the 20 kingdoms that went on to form the world government, and they all went, the kings of those kingdoms went to go live in Mary Joie. The only kingdom, at least that we're aware of, I believe, it might actually state the only kingdom that didn't go to Mary Joie was the Nefertari or Nefeltari or whatever it is, the family of Alabasta. And then there's this like really awkward dialogue in between Robin and Cobra, where Cobra shows her, you know, the hidden chamber that leads to their poneglyph, and he says something like, "We've been protecting this," and Robin's like, "Bullshit! You've been protecting this. You're part of the world government. You're trying to like, I don't know." Made some implications that it wasn't done in good faith. But given Cobra and Vivi, how good people they are, and with how much conviction he stated that, you know, they've been protecting this or keeping it hidden secret for protection, it really makes you wonder if they weren't actually secretly a member of the Ancient Kingdom. I mean, you look at all the other locations of the poneglyphs all around the One Piece world that we've encountered so far, and they're all defended by countries that it would make sense that they were part of or friendly with the Ancient Kingdom. Places like Fishman Island and Zoe and Jaya, Skypiea, and other places I can't remember.
All right, so I have a question then. Do you think the Shichibukai system is going to be abolished completely at the conclusion of Reverie?
Something's got to happen. I feel like there's been so much setup for that at this point in time, for it just to be a red herring doesn't make sense to me. No, that doesn't mean it has to be straightforward, but yeah, it just from a narrative standpoint, it doesn't make sense to be like, okay, you know, Fujitora, I'm going to abolish this Shichibukai system, and at every turn the Shichibukai are fucking up places and getting arrested, and I mean the organization as a whole seems to just be collapsing on itself already, and they're not replacing the voids. I think like with the law, I mean, who are the Shichibukai that are left? We have Edward Weevil, who might get taken out in Wano potentially, or do something, you know, I don't know. He's definitely a threat. Buggy is a Shichibukai, and then Kuma, the living weapon. That Kuma is another one that I personally believe that he wouldn't have given up his mind if it wasn't possible, if it wasn't useful to the Revolutionary Army, I should say. Is that it?
Well, I was going to ask that I know there are a lot of Boa Hancock fans out there, and I thought that this could be a way to reintroduce her into the plot potentially, like later on down the line, because if she loses the protection of the world government, then that could force her to fight against the world government and or potentially be captured again by the Celestial Dragons if it was found out she was a slave.
That would be really sad, dude. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
you got to ruin my mood like that.
the implied sexual actions.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, like going back to the various countries of the world that the Straw Hats have saved that are friendly with the Straw Hats, you would think that, you know, they're in a precarious situation, right? Because they're, you know, part of the world government. They don't want to put themselves in danger. So because of that, they would be less willing to help out Luffy. But if you take away that prediction and you in some way, you become a target of the world government, then at that point you can say fuck it. It's just like, well, there's nothing left to lose here. Join what will be probably the Straw Hats' ultimate cause, or one of them at least, and fight against the corrupt world government. But it makes sense to me.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
Yes.
Indubitably.
Indubitably. So we got a comment from Whitebeard fanboy. I think
that's white boy fanboy, according to you.
Did I say white boy?
No, like your last stream, you called him like white boy fanboy like 4 times in a row.
No, white boy fanbeard. The dyslexia is kicking in. Anyway, reading comment. I like the idea of dropping the Shichibukai, and the Reverie's only purpose is to split them between the revolutionaries who are guaranteed to keep them and the world government. Dropping the Shichibukai. I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Great input.
It's a good idea.
Do you think Elbaf could be located in Shanks' territory, says Basemo? What do you think?
I don't know. This is like I think the most popular idea when it comes to Elbaf and what area it resides in. But it might not be, because as far as we know, Zoe resides in no territory as well that belongs to anyone, although it's a living thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, the same could be of Elbaf, since it's so powerful that it just doesn't belong to anything but itself. But it could belong to Shanks, and that could be a way to introduce him into the plot during Elbaf for whatever plot that there is there.
I'm starting to think that the Yonko's territories are not as organized. Yeah, it's not as organized as maybe we would think that it would be. I think rather than, we see this like image from Law, like right after the Punk Hazard arc, where he's like the Yonko's sphere of influences in their actual circles. But I'm starting to think that it's more like, I have this island and you have this island sort of like situation. But as far as like Elbaf is concerned, like I'll look at a country like Wano, and Wano, I feel like is actually, hold on, pause for a second. I thank you, Stephen P. Really appreciate the donation, but totally lost my train of thought there. But anyway, with Wano, it's a country on par with Elbaf roughly, and there's impressions given, there's hints that perhaps Whitebeard, that was actually in Whitebeard's territory. Whitebeard, may not have interacted too much directly with the island, but there's a lot of like Ace hat. Made a hat for Oars Jr. that was like a Wano hat, and then they have members of their crew from Wano. And then Oden Kozuki joined Whitebeard's crew. Makes a lot of sense. And then even Roger and Whitebeard seem to be talking in a place with a lot of sakura blooms, which it's easy to speculate that could perhaps be Wano. So when it comes to Elbaf, I think it's possible for it to be in a Yonko's territory, but it's so hard to be certain, right? It's just kind of like an idea that sounds good. Like it's like hype, yeah, like Shanks, Elbaf, yeah. But I'm not certain if there's any actual evidence which suggests it, would be my
like
problem.
Groundbreaking, like, oh yeah, you didn't think of it this way,
right?
Kind of thing. I don't think that exists with Elbaf yet.
Right. I mean, there could be hints out there, and I don't know about them, but yeah, at this point, I don't know. Finding comments. This just became the Jetsons. I don't sound anything like what I heard from the theory video. Sorry, man. My whole channel is a lie. I actually hired somebody from the interwebs to speak for my videos. The truth is out. Joy Boy revealed.
What a scam. I've been lied to.
What do you think about this live action movie, Dritz?
Nope. That's how I'm feeling about it. So, like, the thing is, like, every live action ever has almost always been horrible. I think one of the only good ones was Rurouni Kenshin. That had a lot of positive reviews, but everything else is just, ugh. You know, how many ways can they screw this up?
Yeah,
It's a lot more than them doing it justice.
Yeah, like
And
Dragon
even
Ball
if
Evolution.
they did a good job, to like the manga fans and the anime fans, it just wouldn't be of a high enough caliber for them to like it over anything they've seen before. So I think it's just doomed to fail.
Yeah, I mean, there's something amazing about manga and anime, which is that you can depict some strange ass things in ways that are awesome, but that does not always translate to live action. So something like Death Note, right? I can get behind a Death Note live action film if done right, because there's nothing overly difficult, I feel like, to create that, to translate it from anime into live action. But when it comes to One Piece and Luffy's Gomu Gomu powers and make that shit look good, highly, highly skeptical.
Yeah, so am I. So actually, this makes me think of there was a TV series that aired 2 years ago for one of my favorite fantasy authors, Terry Brooks, and it was like the Shannara series. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. And I started to watch it, and it was actually just a teenage drama that didn't follow the storyline at all. So I feel like that's what's going to happen with One Piece, where they're going to have the liberty just to change the story to see like the suit fit to what they want. Because it's almost impossible for them to replicate the One Piece world and do it justice. This is going to look funky.
Funky.
To put it nice.
Quote, funky, Dritz.
Funky.
2017.
Oh, yeah. Funky.
Yeah, no. My expectations are extremely low. But I'll probably watch it anyway just to say that I saw it. But you know, when it comes like you said, when it comes to a lot of those live action adaptations, they don't follow the main storyline. And I you know, there's certain reasons why they do things like that. Like, I mean, an interesting way of looking at it is even translating a manga to an anime. Sometimes the timing isn't right. So at the end of every single chapter in a perfect world of manga, you want something exciting happening at the very end. Leave like a cliffhanger or maybe like a hype moment in the middle. You know, you want to keep it exciting on a per chapter basis. The same applies to an episode of anime, right? You need something interesting happening in each episode. When an anime usually adapts, you know, like 2 to 4 chapters per episode, depending on the series and stuff like that. And so you got to really play around with the timing. And sometimes it requires you to, you know, switch things around to make it flow in the different mediums. There's a lot of challenges the change in how it's formatted.
They need to get Toei's help with that pacing per episode and chapter adaptation.
Get
them on board. I want to see what's gonna happen. If they're gonna make it bad, just make it like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So it's funny.
I actually did enjoy Dragon Ball Evolution because of that. Don't hate me, guys. We got a question from Anthony Castillo. Guys, do you think Pound is going to appear next chapter? You're up.
Oh, so I'm a big Pound advocate. You know, I think that he's actually going to be game-changing somewhere down the line. And going by the characters who've been reintroduced this chapter, it seems like a likelihood that he could show up. And I think that he might, since he's near the Seducing Woods, and that's the last place we saw him. He's probably chilling, drinking some apple juice. And I also think that he might have been responsible for sewing up King Bomb as well, since he was the only known named character in the area who could have done so.
Makes sense. I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I just kind of imagined it was like mystery, you know, sewing.
And also we got the kind of thing where it's like Pudding is going to go see Chiffon, and it can't be a coincidence that Pound also wants to see Chiffon, and so you have the opportunity that all of this could just jumble together to create a good plot point.
I was thinking that as well, that Pudding might find her way to the Seducing Woods here in the next chapter. So my thoughts on Pound are really confusing. So it seems like the vast majority of people believe that he's just sort of chilling in the forest, which could be the case. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, he dipped. He knew shit was about to hit the fan. He said, "Nope, I want none of this." And so when the Straw Hats, Luffy and Nami, went to go face the enraged army, at some point in time, he was just like not there anymore. Which is really curious to me. It's like, is it just made sense to him just to go back and dig his hole again and then go back to the Seducing Woods, or is there something more interesting in play here? And so one thing that, you know, this is the only point that I have, and I'm not saying that it's persuasive, but I've always been intrigued by it. is back when we were in the Seducing Woods, the very first time that we were there, they went to the center of the forest and they met Pound. And then as this happened, you had all of the like gizmos, the compasses and shit spinning, as though there was some sort of like power going on. I'm like, to this day, that is not explained. Like the only way you could possibly explain that is Brûlé like mirrored dimensions or some shit like that. Like, you know, some like I couldn't explain it based on aside from really strange things, other than it's a different power that's going on there. And when you go back to the Seducing Woods, remember they're like running around in circles, but they would always end up back at Pound. And then Pound dug his like himself there in the first place, which, you know, I guess makes sense if you're Pound and you just like digging holes and staying there. But I'm not certain, like, based on everything that's going on, I think there is some potential, don't hate me, some potential that Pound was working for the Big Mom Pirates the entire time. And, you know, some people will say, oh, well, he attacked Brûlé. I'm not certain if just like Pudding, Pound isn't sort of conflicted about what it is that he wants, specifically regarding, you know, potential friends of Lola. But I at the end of the day, I just think the power, whatever was used there to make the compasses go haywire, given that Cracker doesn't have that ability, Brûlé probably doesn't have that ability unless it's something crazy. You know, Randolph, and, you know, it's just like, where did this come from? Who did this? And the only person that would be there would be Pound.
Going along those ideas, I actually think low-key that Pound is actually decently strong. So whenever we were in the Seducing Woods and Nami and Luffy first met Pound, you know, it's a theme within the show that if you can gauge someone's power level, then you have an understanding of strength. And Pound was able to gauge both Chopper, Luffy, and Nami's basically strength. And he said Chopper was pretty frightening in his form, Luffy's really strong, then Nami's really weak. So if he's able to do that, I think there could be a possibility that, you know, there is more to him than meets the eye, whether it's good or bad for the crew or not.
I think Pound is one of the most interesting aspects of this arc, as far as like being completely unaware of what exactly he'll do, besides just the obvious of eventually, we assume, meeting Chiffon. In thought. Does that help?
Yes.
Reverie in 5 chapters, dude. I don't think we're getting out of Whole Cake Island in 5 chapters. Yeah, I'm questioning if we'll get out of Whole Cake Island in 15 chapters. Honestly,
I was kind of like my own gauge, like the end of September be Reverie.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that are saying Reverie and Wano is going to be next year.
Well, like what last week, everyone's review was like Wano now.
Yeah, I mean,
the title is like Wano next.
Dude, I mean, putting your thoughts out there, specifically speculating, you're just like the center of a fuckboy hate storm. It's fucking awful, because if somebody disagrees with your opinion, some people out there, they just rage. But, you know, it's just like me, you, and several other people were thinking there's just so much left in Whole Cake Island that needs to be addressed. There's no way it's going to be next chapter. No way it's going to be next chapter and they just leave. You got to address Pudding. You got to address the Vinsmoke. You got to address Pound. You got to address Peckham's. And then here we are. And it's just like, I don't know. You always need a reason why you believe something. If you like, and if you hear something that could be persuasive, like, you know, like Pudding and Sanji are having a developing relationship, so then because of that, this would actually have to be addressed. I feel like if you hear something like that and you still speculate that the arc's going to end, you're just biased. You just want to move on.
So speaking of loose ends, I was thinking back to like your concerns with the cake theory about how it might not tie up the themes with Mother Carmel. So, right. And I was thinking that, you know, I'm an advocate of Big Mom being an Elbaf eventually at some point. And I thought that, you know, the only other party that knows what happened to Carmel are the people who reside in Elbaf. And that would be a way to bring Carmel and what actually happened into relevance if Big Mom were to be an Elbaf.
So I want to ask you a question, right? So I understand the arguments for getting Big Mom into Elbaf. Lots of history there that needs to be resolved. I feel like that, like their current understanding of what has happened between Big Mom and their country, it isn't right. I feel like they need to know that Big Mom has a sickness. She has an illness in which she goes crazy. She had no intent of hurting any of those people. Like at that point in time, she loved, all the various people of Elbaf. It's a really sad story. But my question is how are they going to get her to Elbaf? Like, do you have any like persuasive way to get her there, as well as like addressing the majority of what we have going on in Whole Cake Island?
My ideas depend on what exactly putting edits from Big Mom's memory when that does happen. Because later on down the line, and if you go into account with like what Morgans is going to write in the newspaper, both those factors could change something in the plot moving forward. Is it convincing? No, but I don't think it's any more convincing than the idea of Big Mom being in Wano.
Yeah, fair enough. That's another really good point. With Big News Morgans knowing that about the Tamate Bako, the Big Mom Pirates even asked about that this last chapter. The people that know are Stussy and Big News Morgans. Even if they edit Big Mom's memories, right, the truth could still get out there through Morgans. And that's it. It literally, that thing alone throws a wrench in almost every speculation. You have to account for it at that point in time. It's like, well, I believe this, but then we got to assume, that Morgans doesn't, reveal this. It's honestly really frustrating. But a lot of people use it to argue that, he knows that the Tamate Bako box is going to go off, or he knew that it was the aspect that destroyed her castle. Big Mom probably, even if they edit her memories, are they going to edit the part that relates to the Tamate Bako? I don't feel like that's something that would concern them right away, especially since they didn't know that the box went off. So then you edit her memories, the Straw Hats go off, and you go to Wano, and they're all cool. And then Morgans reports that the Tamate Bako exploded the castle after Big Mom is looking for it, and takes her rage out on Fishman Island. That's a speculation that I heard anyway.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people use that as justification for Luffy going back to Fishman Island right after Wano to fight Big Mom. And you might know, but I'm not a fan of that either. I think it's too early in the story, as weird as that sounds, for them to move backwards.
Yeah. We got a good question from Whitebeard Fanboy, or White Boy Fanbeard.
White boy?
Has it been confirmed whether or not Pudding can create new memories? And no, her power hasn't been explained.
We have seen one ability, edit. And that's it.
Edit. But I think that it really depends on Oda. Oda, at this point in time, can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. As long as it relates to memories, then it's possible for him to do. But at this point in time, we can't know what constraints he wants to place on it or not.
The fruit still hacks. You can do anything.
You can do whatever you like. More awkward singing brought to you by Joy Boy.
Beautiful voice. Love it.
Yeah.
Sexy.
You like that, don't you?
Deep.
Deep.
Just like you and me.
Oh, yeah. I'm quiet now, aren't I?
That's right, boy.
That's how you shut Joey Boy up.
Moving on.
Sean in the chat is talking about deaths in One Piece. I actually wanted to talk about this. I'm planning on making a video related to this sort of, but I made a video a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago, suggesting that it's possible, given we don't know whether the lifespan that Big Mom takes can be returned back to the bodies that they were taken from. This would be a perfect opportunity to potentially kill off Straw Hats, in my mind, because I don't think anyone's going to die in One Piece, specifically, definitely not Straw Hats. But in this case, if you can take their life force and then give it back, then you can have them pseudo die. And so with Big Mom sort of walking in on them here in this last chapter, I kind of worry. I kind of worry for Nami. And another thing that's important for me and sort of my beliefs, tying up all the various plot lines as I see it, is that the Straw Hats need to stay in Whole Cake Island. They need motivation to stay. And motivation could come from Big Mom potentially killing someone like Nami. Killing, I say, and then she would come back to life. It's something that definitely intrigues me, though.
I feel like that would kind of change Luffy's motive in the entire arc. Because if his crew member was hurt, then his attitude would change from just leaving to, I have to defeat Big Mom, which would never end up well.
I mean, that's a good point as well. But then it could be explained to her, him, unless Luffy has a gender change. That's,
Luffy
first of
count.
all, the lifespan can be returned. So, she could get her lifespan back. And then number two, this like state or whatever isn't Big Mom. And that could also tie back into the potential that's there may be some sort of cure for whatever this rage is.
Well, the thing was like Nami being in danger is that Big Mom, which she's quite capable of, would have to go past every single other crewmate and then have none of them be able to save Nami. Which it could happen, but I don't know. Seeing the attitudes of everyone in the crew, I'm not sure if it would happen, or if Oda would use that purpose, because right now they're kind of fucked. And the more time they waste there, I feel like that's more time for Katakuri to show up. Because in my idea, I think Katakuri is going to use Brule to come into the little house next to the Seducing Woods. That's Brule's home. And he'll be relevant again in the story.
That's good.
Concerning Luffy.
Yeah, I buy that 100% already. I mean, it kind of goes back to what I've been noticing throughout Whole Cake Island is that those lines, those throwaway lines that are easy to overlook, they come back and they end up being true in one way or another. So in this last chapter, Katakuri straight up says that I'm going to go after Straw Hat Luffy. And I mean, I'm like, it's hard to explain reading patterns and like observing patterns, but that's just one of those things that reads to me as this is going to happen eventually. And then he also said specifically that, Brule was important in order for him to do this. Brule, you come with me. So yeah, I'm a fan. Consider me on board.
And then he gets shot in the middle of the streets and we never see him again.
But if it happens right now, then the Big Mom would be there as well. Which is curious.
Yeah, well, they're not in the Seducing Woods yet. They're in the field outside of it. So, I mean, the way I see the next chapter happening is Big Mom is going to use Napoleon and cut Bomb in half again, and he's going to be donezo. And the shots are going to have to somehow, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to try and run away from Big Mom while she's flying on a Nimbus.
She just needs a powerful.
And then Krillin needs to die.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to speculate. There's so many different things that can happen in the middle. It's kind of like with Whole Cake Island. I was speculating this sequence of events where Big Mom would rage and be a danger to everyone for a year, but it's the path to get there. Would change through it, like with each chapter. It's just like, okay, well, this isn't right, so let's speculate something different. Okay, that's not right, let's speculate something different. And yes, it did end up to where I thought it would be. But the in between.
Well, the interesting thing about this chapter is that now that we've seen Big Mom and she's attacking the Straw Hats, it's kind of ironic that Chopper isn't there, seeing her in this state.
I think it's important.
So I wonder if that's going to be used later, to go along with the whole Chopper theory idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Oda, he likes timing things correctly. And so he's still, at this point in my mind, he's still setting up Big Mom and the Big Mom Pirates to be the antagonists. That's, like the Straw Hats are trying to escape right now. And that regardless of Big Mom's crazed state, they can just go die for all that we care. And it won't, like he keeps calling it an illness, right? But once Chopper is revealed and in any way intimates that there's a possibility of curing this, the relationship that's set up between the Big Mom Pirates and the Straw Hats in the minds of the readers will change immediately. It's just like, okay, well, they just went from our enemies who they can die to, we're probably about to make them friends, or about to become friends with them. And if Oda's still setting up this or building up this tension between them, then you would need to have Chopper not there in order to sell it, because Chopper would notice, like I said, like with the kids in Punk Hazard and the similarities with Big Mom, I feel like Chopper would immediately be like, okay, this woman has addiction issues or some shit like that.
You got problems. Get some help. Yeah, we speculate this, but I feel like it would be totally troll if next chapter the shots say, we don't have the cake, and then Big Mom goes back and just kills Perospero.
Dude, I honestly hope
liar.
I mean, that's what she said you do, right? If they don't have the cake, I'm going to kill you. And like, she never said that she'd kill the sides first.
Later.
Could Reiju join the crew? Says Rakonax. No. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely not. So I feel like that idea is purely 100% based, and I don't know where this idea came from, is that, oh, she would fall in love with Zoro, and then Sanji would be like, oh, and then they would fight. I feel like that's the only reason people even think Reiju could be on
That's
the
a
Straw
thought.
Hats.
How many comments do you read, bro? Because
I
I
have,
have not
yeah.
I've not heard that, and you just like
Listen,
made it
I'm on
sound like
Oro
it's like
Jackson
whatever.
a lot, and people have said this before, and I don't know, it's pretty baseless, and it's just more like wish fulfillment.
You got to fulfill
I
that,
do
that
love
inner.
Reiju, and the most I see out of her is that she would be joining the fleet at some point, or be
Where does
in
Zoro
an
come into
alliance.
this?
So you know how the community, a lot of it is based on, a lot of opinions are just based on shipping mentality. And the more you have a shipping mentality, the more unrealistic expectations become like, oh, this is totally going to happen. Which is why a lot of people are like, Nami versus Pudding, LOL. Because of the shipping expectations and not more of the plot.
I'm just
When people think One Piece, they're like, my expectations over the plot, and that's how it's going to be.
I'm just so stuck right now. Like they were just like, who
There
should
was
we
actually a
ship
lot
with
of people who thought this was going to
Reiju?
happen. Like,
You,
yeah,
Zoro.
Reiju is going to join, fall in love with Zoro, and then Sanji like, get away from my sister. And he's like, I'm banging her. Or something.
Actually,
like,
I'm a fan of this now. No, we need to make this a thing.
Stop banging my sister. Mary Mo.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, surely find a ship, but unless we see other evidence, I just find it very unlikely.
Joyboy, what happened to Cracker? Says another name I can't pronounce. Moad. He's definitely injured. So there's really only two ways to speculate this. He's injured and he's in the hospital and he doesn't matter, or he's injured and he's in the hospital and he does matter. He'll reappear later. But either way, I think he's in the hospital after getting his ass beat.
Yeah, but the thing is that now that the castle fell, what happened then?
Well,
because like you speculated that he would be in the fourth floor infirmary,
right?
And since the castle has collapsed, if Cracker is in the infirmary, then what the hell?
Then he would be covered. He would be covered in cake right now. He'd be very
delicious
tasty.
Cream sponge cake.
Maybe
it's not so delicious.
Maybe the icing on the cake for Cracker is, a little bit of action
maybe
with
it
Big Mom.
heals his wounds, and it's like the milk for Luffy's teeth. Cracker goes back in 100%.
But no, real talk about Cracker though, is that if we're assuming that the ingredients that's putting it like we're not about to go to Chocolate Town. Let's just assume for a moment that we're not about to go to Chocolate Town, and you're looking for ingredients potentially to create the cake. Then Stroizen would be somebody who could provide all the ingredients, but it appears as though he's essentially down for the count. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think that he may not be able to cook the cake, but he might be able to create ingredients if necessary. But if he's not able to, then you would essentially need all of the devil fruits that Oda or food-related devil fruits that Oda has given to all the Big Mom pirates in order to have the ingredients necessary to create the cake. And I think of the devil fruits that are out there, the cracker or the biscuits fruit would be important as far as I'm not a chef, right? I don't know how things work, but like Katakuri is potato starch, right? Like I'm not certain if we have like a straight bread related devil fruit aside from cracker.
Yeah, it is dogtooth. Lol.
Dogtooth. And you're gonna rage about that like Roger's face? It's not dogtooth.
Well, literally, for like 13 casual reviews in a row, I was like, manga stream sucks. So I think I've done enough of that.
I don't mind dogtooth, but a lot of people get on me on how to pronounce certain things, and like honestly, I could give two fucks less how to pronounce a name. All I care is that you understand what it is that I'm saying. So and usually what I'll do is I'll just take whatever I heard first. So like I read Katakuri first, so that's what I'm calling this character now. Like I have literally no preference for names, but some people like, especially when it came to Carmel, right? I got this comment for weeks and weeks, like, dude, you're pronouncing her name wrong. It's Caramel. It's like, this is just me trying to actually pronounce the name correctly. Why are you hating me?
Luffy, Nami, Zolo.
Connections between Bonney, Whitebeard, and Ace. What do you think?
I think you got this one.
Come on, I'm trying to deflect you.
Listen, you give me the hot potato, I'm giving it right back to you. Tagged you. I see it.
So to answer your question, King Enemy Rules, yes.
And there we go.
No, a lot of people want to
unsolved plot points is basically what I point at. I don't think you can have like an actual relationship between that as like definitive. It's more speculation, which is what we do, but I'm not sure if there's like a 100% better answer than the rest.
Well, I mean, I speculated this in the I speculated this in the past, but I personally believe, well, and even more that you think about it, it's really confusing, right? But like, so we see Bonney during Marineford, and she starts crying after Ace dies, and I think also Whitebeard had died at this point in time too. So the two potential connections, that the reason why she'd be crying would either be Whitebeard or Ace, and I do not believe that she clarifies. And then afterwards, we see her go after Blackbeard, and so this is where it gets kind of confusing. But Blackbeard killed Whitebeard. Blackbeard also captured Ace. Akainu killed Ace. And so attacking Blackbeard makes sense for both Ace and Whitebeard. But given that Blackbeard was the one to finish off Whitebeard, I think it would lead you to believe that maybe that was the reason why she went after Blackbeard. But then at the same time, Whitebeard was essentially already dead at the hands of Akainu because he took off half of his face. So it's like, it's hard to be certain which character Bonney has a connection for. But a lot of people, speculation that I saw recently that was really interesting was that potentially Bonney is Portgas Rouge in hiding. Now I'm not saying that I buy this, but
I read this entire theory,
but I thought it was a good theory, which is that Bonney has the devil fruit relating to age, and so one of the mysteries, quote unquote, of Ace's situation when he was born was that Portgas Rouge held Ace for 2 years or some shit like that, like a crazy amount of time. Ace was inside of there. And so realistically, this doesn't make any sense. From a One Piece perspective, you can say, okay, well, it's just the will of D. But from an actual, to make this actually make sense, let's assume that Portgas Rouge is Jewelry Bonney. Jewelry Bonney has an age-related devil fruit in which she can control the age of not only herself, but other people. This could also apply to her unborn child. She could control its age. So essentially, she could carry an unborn child indefinitely using her devil fruit powers. Another interesting point is that throughout in the manga, there's only one scene where we can kind of tell her face. The rest of it, it's like, in shadow or she's looking away. It's very ambiguous. They have very similar colored hair. And there was more. Do you remember anything else?
Basically, it was like the connection between the real life pirate.
Oh yeah,
and the holding of the room, the amnesty from the death penalty of hanging.
Yeah, so the pleading the belly.
Well, the thing is, I don't know. It's a really cool idea, but I 100% think it's wrong.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that's really in depth, but you're like, no way.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is that Portgas Rouge is confirmed to have freckles, and Jewelry Bonney does not have freckles.
Yeah, but I think people who believe that will say, well, she can use her fruit, etc., which is like the leeway you have whenever you speculate anything with Bonney is you can basically use her devil fruit to explain everything.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I actually heard was that
one thing that I don't think anyone explained is that why is she in her own separate pirate crew trying to become the Pirate King?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's confirmed that that's her motivation. I think.
You assume with the supernovas there's at least some motive to gain power.
Yeah, I mean, with Jewelry Bonney, it's uncertain, but at the same time, you could have just been a pirate, right? That was sailing the Grand Line, and just by having a bounty of over 100 million berries and going through the Grand Line one time, then automatically you're a supernova. It doesn't necessarily mean that your end goal is anything related to any of the other supernova. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they look different, and some people would argue, well, she's in hiding. But that was the other part of the theory, which is that there's Jewelry Bonney has some importance to the world government. Like Akainu was like, yo, bitch, we were looking for you.
Get back and sex slave with that fine ass over there.
And so it would make sense if she was Port Gusty Rouge because they're interested in everyone related to Goldie Roger, which right now that's also unexplained. But anyway, that's the extent of my thoughts right now. I think that it's the other theory that I'm really a fan of is that Joey Bonney is related to Big Mom because Joey Bonney rides around on a cake ship, and ain't nobody else do that but Big Mom. So potentially like Lola Bonney was somebody who left the crew, but that doesn't explain her relationship with Whitebeard and or Ace. As for just like a singular connection to Whitebeard, I have no idea. I don't think there's any.
Have you seen the other theory that involves Rouge where she is Nami's mom? And that she actually had 2 children, and one of them was Nami.
No, I haven't seen that theory. Is it good?
No, it's not. But so basically, the basis of it is that in like the pilot versions of One Piece, Nami had multiple character names. One of them being Anne, and that there are 2 names for Ace. And if he was born boy, Ace, girl would be Anne.
Yeah.
And then people were like, well, bang, connection there.
Boom. Confirmed.
Does it make sense? No. Does it work along with the time period? Ugh. But it's just like, I don't know. It's not as bad as a theory that I read yesterday.
Pause for a second. So
sure.
So Ace and Anne, I get that, right? That connects Bonney and Ace potentially as like being brother and sister. But where did Nami come in to that speculation?
Because Nami's pilot character name was Anne. And also, there was also some connection about card themes. Not Yu-Gi-Oh, but like
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh! But you should listen to this one theory. I made a tweet about it, but basically this guy was like, people always joke about Chopper being emergency food supply. So I have a theory that at the end of the last arc, Sanji is going to cook Chopper to feed the Straw Hats because they're going to be starving. It's going to be emotional. And Chopper's like, please eat me. And they're going to do it. I read that and I was like, what the hell is this?
Oh, that's fantastic, though. I appreciate it. Bonnie transformed into a lolly. During those fall... Oh, we're okay. You guys need names that I can actually pronounce. During a war with Whitebeard, he took away Bonney from her Big Mom's territory. During a war with Whitebeard, he took... I'm not certain. Dritz, that's when you need to come in and save me. What are you doing?
I did not hear the question.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand the question either.
I didn't even hear it. Like, I was looking for it in the chat just to see. I didn't even find it. What was it again? Reread it. Do it.
It's too late. The chat's moving too fast.
Dang.
Yeah. Rip. Somebody asked how you're doing, Dritz. How are you doing?
Usually it'll be pretty good, but today when I went to work, the first thing I did when I went to work was I clocked in and I dropped my phone on the concrete and it shattered. So,
God hates
not
you.
good anymore.
Apparently. I feel sorry for it.
Yep. Rip phone.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done that. He's just a boy. Justin Velasco asks, what do you think about Nami's climb attack eating the snow fruit?
Actually, that's a cool idea.
You hadn't heard that one?
I have not heard that one, actually.
Boom! I heard some Drizzt in here. Yes. Sure. Look at that. Just got
what's the reasoning for like how it happened?
Well, there's a bunch of people that speculate that Nami would eat the snow fruit because Monet apparently died. You expect the fruit to respond. A lot of people wondered if the fruit responded on Nami's tangerine tree. And then there's just a bunch of like little like rabbits and shit and small foreshadowing. I can't actually remember what it is, to be honest with you. But there's like a bunch of little hints that people had found that perhaps indicated that somebody on the crew would have that fruit. It's also worth noting that Nami in every possible situation, or well, she manipulates the weather, and she's never manipulated the weather to create snow up till this point in the story that I'm aware of, which is like a curious absence, right? And so people think, just like me, that she's not going to eat the snow fruit because that would completely destroy her development, but perhaps the Climatech eats it instead of her so that she can just use snow powers with it. So then she would still be using her Climatech in some sense. But my problem with this theory is we've seen objects eat devil fruits, but we haven't seen objects eat devil fruits that are not zone types.
Yeah, not living things.
Yeah, and so I think the reason for that is that in order to activate the powers of the devil fruit, you need some level of sentience, right? It's not like you can just like tickle the Climatech and then it'll produce snow. Like it needs some conscious. And if it has a zone power, right, then it like grows a brain of some kind. But if it just has a snow fruit, then how exactly would you activate its powers besides, again, tickling it? Finding the sweet spot, like heavy snow right here.
Have you seen the theory that the Straw Hats, like the Sunny, is going to get a sentient guardian to guard the ship while the Straw Hats go on their adventures?
A sentient guardian.
So like the basis of the idea is that most of the times in the arcs, whenever the Straw Hats leave the ship, there's a trend that something bad happens with the ship. Someone gets on board, or there is danger posed to the ship due to their lack of presence, and someone being left behind. And Luffy has stated 3 to 4 times in the series that he wants a bronze statue on the ship. So the idea is that there are candidates to be a guardian of the ship, and that the most likely idea is that whenever they see Vegapunk, due to plot circumstances, he actually creates them a sentient guardian to be on the ship, which is like a statue.
That'd be really badass. I mean, like again, man, it's Oda's little details.
Like, yeah, the other candidate was Kuma, but for me, I was like, no, he's too much of an overpowered character, and you would actually want him to be relevant to the plot other than just sitting on the ship all day.
That'd be a sad state for Kuma. Just that this is where you're going now. You just stay on the ship.
See you later, Kuma.
But yeah, I mean, I like the statue thing, but I don't know if it's necessary to do that or not. But
I do like as like plot circumstances also help the Straw Hats whenever that happens as well, such as getting new Nakama or like people that they need to help sneaking on the ship. So if there's a sentient guardian, then they'll like kill everyone.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Oh yeah, another interesting point. I've actually never discussed this before, but Dritz, when do you think that the Thousand Sunny is going to awaken her spirit, or his or her spirit? At what point in the story would that make sense? That we can.
Well, I'm trying to think of what arc that would be most reminiscent to, and the only thing I can think of is that Raizo actually posted a few days ago on Twitter about finding out the future parents of the rest of the Straw Hats, and to go thematically along, perhaps whenever Frankie's parents get introduced, because do you think he would have the strongest connection to the Thousand Sunny, whereas before it was Usopp and the Mary, and you would think this time it would be Frankie and the Sunny.
That would make sense, yeah.
So maybe circumstances, because I don't see it happening on Wano. I don't know why it would happen in Wano. Elbaf, potentially. But I don't know what the other arcs are going to be after that.
It was so interesting that with the Going Mary, what unlocked her spirit was essentially her ending life. She was forced to sort of fix herself. But with the Thousand Sunny, we don't really see that happening. So it just might be a completely different situation.
Well, it could happen whenever Frankie, you have the idea that the Thousand Sunny could be turned into the counter Pluton.
Right.
And so that would like cause like an entire remodel. So maybe there's some point in this series where after Sun engagement, the Sunny is heavily damaged. And it's at that point Frankie gets the inspiration to go full with the plans of making it to the counter Pluton. So it doesn't get hurt anymore.
I mean, that would add even more motivation to doing something like that, which I'm for. Because I mean, like you don't think about a ship like a crew member, but then to like all of a sudden decide, hey, we're gonna change you, we're gonna make you into a Pluton. You're like mutilating it, which isn't cool. But if it's destroyed beforehand, it would make more sense. I'm a fan. You got me.
Boom.
Well, all right, guys. Well, I think that I am tired out. We ran this thing for about an hour or so, something like that.
Yeah, that's the Joy Boy stream.
The Joker stream, yeah. But I appreciate everyone for coming out. I just got to figure out what it is that we're doing. And I want to thank Dritz as well for joining us. I think it was a pretty fun time. What do you think, Dritz?
I had fun. Hopefully, I wasn't too annoying to the audience.
Oh,
I don't
you're
want
really
to
fucking annoying,
impose
dude.
on your stream because
Yeah.
people come to watch you and not listen to me meme. So
yeah, you're definitely not going to get another invite. But but yeah, there's a link for Dritz's channel in the description. Again, I keep trying to sell you guys Dritz's channel, but essentially it's like me. But Dritz spends more time on each individual video and is actually funny. And you should subscribe to him because I said so. So yeah. But yeah, I gotta figure out. That's my argument for you. That's all I got inside of me.
That's not the only thing you have inside of you.
Oh, boom.